Great. Okay, we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I'm Alex Fahie. I'm the CEO of TAISK, and before developing technology companies, I spent over a decade in finance, analyzing and advising on investments. Today, I've been asked to tackle one of the most pressing questions facing British business, and that is, can AI fix the UK's productivity crisis? And whilst I'm sure we've all felt the sluggishness of the UK economy for ourselves, today what we're going to do is we'll examine what the productivity crisis actually is. But I'm not going to give you here another seminar about AI hype or productivity theory. What we're going to do today is we're going to show you something practical, how our team believe we can overcome decades of productivity stagnation by attacking its root cause. And that root cause is the crushing weight of administrative burden and our dangerous comfort with bureaucracy. Hi, Bev. Yep, it is being recorded. Over the next 20 minutes, what we're going to do is we'll explore why admin and bureaucracy are killing UK productivity. We'll examine the real scale of this problem. I'll demonstrate TAISK and how the team here have built something that's solving it by giving every employee their own proactive AI assistant. We'll close with a live demo that shows all of this in action. And if we have any time left over, I'm very happy to do a Q&A session. The root cause of UK productivity stagnation, particularly for SMEs, is not a lack of ambition or work ethic. In fact, there are a myriad of factors when we compare UK productivity to our neighbours, either in Europe or in the States. Things like chronic underinvestment, very expensive energy, legacy infrastructure that hasn't been updated, to name just a few. But these are all macro systemic UK issues. They are likely only to be solvable by national policy, maybe with the help of AI. But what can we do on a micro level? As a nation famously of shopkeepers, what can small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, do for themselves? The Napoleon to our Waterloo is the crushing weight of administrative burdens and the comfort zone of bureaucratic processes. At TAISK, we believe that true measurable productivity gains come from liberating human potential, enhancing the human experience at work through the practical elimination of unnecessary admin. In short, people are busy. They're just not busy doing the stuff that makes a difference. Let me explain. This chart shows where SME employee time actually goes during a typical work week. If you look at the green slice, 35% of every employee's time is consumed by administrative tasks. That's more than a third of their working hours spent on forms, reports, compliance tracking, reconciliation, and data entry. If we just think about that for a moment, your best people, the ones you hired for their expertise, creativity, and customer focus, are spending over 2.5 hours of every 8-hour day just pushing paper around. Meanwhile, strategic planning and innovation, the activities that actually grow a business, that give a competitive advantage, get just 8% of their attention. What I'd be really interested in the comments is if you agree with this pie chart. If you run a business, do you see these sorts of time allocations playing out, that we're spending too much time on admin and all stuff doing the more creative stuff? From my experience, I think we're all drowning our potential in administrative quicksand. So how did the UK businesses become process rather than productivity led? Firstly, what do I mean by productivity? Think of productivity as how much a worker or hour of work produces. Since the financial crisis, the story for UK SMEs has been pretty rough. The next bit does get a bit numbery, but bear with me. Again, I'm not an economist. I did work in finance, but I will do my best to discuss the charts, and if we've got time at the end for Q&A, we can go through some of the data and some of the sources. Since 2007, the increase in average annual productivity in the UK has languished at just 0.2% compared to an average of 3.6% in the 3 decades following World War II. After 2008, productivity fell by about 4% by 2009, which is normal for a recession. Those of us who remember that bit, I'm sure. But what wasn't normal was what came next. And from 2010 to 2013, productivity just flatlined at about 1% below its 2007 peak. And roughly, if we were to imagine a trend, I don't know if I can draw a trend on here. Let's see if I can draw a trend on here. Roughly about 14% below its pre-recession trend. This became the UK's very well known and very well documented. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this productivity puzzle. A big part of this drag, which was stymieing progress, was admin and clunky processes. Just too many hours that went on forms, approvals, and chasing data instead of serving customers. Tighter compliance, more documentation from the banks, longer supplier onboarding, late payment paperwork, they all added up. And inside firms, again, really focusing here on SMEs, systems weren't talking to each other. The same data, as is often the case now, was getting typed in twice, just in different formats, and decisions were left waiting and sitting in inboxes. The main issues were that managers spent time reporting and not improving. Staff had to switch between tools, they had to rekey info, and they had to fix any errors that they put in. Projects stalled, waiting for sign-offs and checklists, and cash just got stuck in slow billing and collections. The result, less time selling and delivering, more time on admin, and consequently output per person completely fell. Later on, from 2017 to 2019, we can see that productivity started to steady, so around here. But weaknesses remained, the same inherent weaknesses that had come as a consequence of the reactions to the financial crisis. Starting in 2022, productivity fell again across, every business in the world because of COVID, right? But then it was down about 7% between August 2022 and December 2023. Early 2025, so beginning of this year, we saw a slight uptick. That hasn't really stayed the course for again, a number of reasons around consumer confidence or purchasing manager index confidence, but growth stayed way below previous trends. So to sort of summarize the UK SME productivity challenge, we can look at some reports by Goldman Sachs. And today, they say that only about 36,000 of the UK's 5.5 million SMEs that have existed for longer or been in operation longer than 3 years are what they refer to as productivity heroes. So only 36,000 of 5.5 million. And these are firms that consistently grow revenue faster than headcount. As a percentage, that's just nuts. And the reason SMEs are they're particularly trapped by this. With 350,000 SMEs in Scotland alone, which is where we're based, and the 5.5 million across the UK, we're talking about millions and millions of businesses that have made bureaucracy their necessary requirements, but also it's become something of a comfort blanket. Checklists, spreadsheets, approval processes, compliance steps, these feel safe, they feel busy, they feel right. But they're actually leveling everyone in an organization down to the speed of the slowest administrative process. They're not helping people progress. They're not helping us grow. Simply after 2008, something broke in how productive companies grew. The most efficient firms just weren't necessarily winning because admin friction was dragging everyone down to the same sluggish pace. Another factor that's important to mention post 2007, past the financial crisis, was the increase in regulatory requirements. They changed this almost overnight, dramatically, how businesses had to record and demonstrate through things like auditing. So businesses faced growing demands to adhere to compliance, audits, reporting standards, risk management protocols. Admin work became essential to demonstrate accountability. People Well, Warren, if you need to get a loan from the bank, you need to be able to demonstrate with all this paperwork that your business was in order. So as companies try to control risk and optimize efficiency, they focused on enforcing standardized processes with reports and documentation. This made doing things properly synonymous with generating measurable workloads or measurable admin. Meanwhile, soft skills became less valued because they aren't measurable. Critical human interactions, things like mentorship, creativity, negotiation, they are harder to track and to quantify. When performance for a business is judged primarily on data points, softer skills become deprioritized in daily practice. They're just sidelined behind the admin tasks where they're clear metrics. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this within your work. No one has ever got in trouble. No one has ever got fired for following a process. You know, I think Roy Sutherland talks about a lot where it says no one ever got fired from buying Dell or something like that when discussing the safe option. And for most people within a business, safety is what matters, especially when around the business, around the economic climate, there are things like job losses going on. People will just do what they need to do, and the businesses evolve to become these process-oriented organisms. The results across the economy is that admin became the dominant feature of work. Workers were just spending more time completing measurable admin rather than pursuing those intangible, those value-creating activities. The workplace shifts towards bureaucratic comfort zones, and it created this productivity trap. We didn't have those water cooler moments or those epic opportunities to come up with ideas that would provide that competitive advantage. But here's what we have learned from companies that do break through. Productivity can be measured when admin shrinks, it grows. The teams that outperform have one thing in common. They eliminated administrative friction, the amount of time that they spent every day doing admin. And some of these were through automation. So this is in the pre-AI period as well, pre-generative AI, doing things like faster onboarding, instant quoting, seamless support, automated billing. You can see this across some of the startups that have, unfortunately, many of them have since left the UK. Companies like Ocado, which developed insanely brilliant strategies or ways for how they manage warehouses. That's really where their IP lies, is warehouse management. But it's all around sort of eliminating admin. Management time spent coaching instead of tracking. I wrote a book a couple of years ago about workplace learning, and in that, what was evident from the interviews and the conversations I had was that if middle management worked more as coaches as opposed to checkers, the business and the human experience is vastly improved, and productivity can easily be associated with that. You can see a distinct correlation. And critically, when you can remove this emphasis on admin, employees themselves are able to focus on customers and delivering value and not on paperwork. The UK management and productivity surveys, they were conducted extensively from 2015 to 2023. They can give us some pretty good insight into why this is all true. So these surveys they use a management practice score to measure how well firms organize operations, manage workflows, and control unnecessary admin friction. Essentially, it's like a proxy for how much administrative burden employees face in their daily work and how it can be redacted. And the data is striking, right? As firms improve their management practices and reduce the time spent on manual, repetitive, and bureaucratic tasks, labor productivity increases dramatically. A small improvement in these management scores corresponds to a nearly a 10% rise. Is that 10% rise in output per worker? And this happens because better management often means automating routine admin, streamlining process, and freeing employees up to focus on value-adding activities like serving customers, innovating, growing businesses. An example of this, again, unfortunately not from the UK, but is Google. So Google ran a program in the early days where they told their developers that they had, I think it's something like 2 days or 3 days every month, where they could just work on anything non-Google related. And from those 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, whatever the period was, some of the best Google products were developed. I mean, I can't remember explicitly what, but some of the most amazing things that we now will take for granted as part of the Google suite came about as giving people time and freedom to be creative and to do some cool stuff. So the main question that we're looking at today, I think if we can all agree, hopefully, that there is a bit of a productivity crisis in the UK, or quite a stark productivity crisis in the UK. If I've done a relatively good job so far of illustrating that through the charts. The question is, well, what happens now? Can we get rid of admin? Can we do something at a micro level, not at a macro level, to help SMEs be more productive? And we believe AI can help, but you have to be very careful with it. I think there is a massive opportunity for AI to become transformative. But it's not about creating superhumans. It's about freeing humans up from the admin stuff, but from the trap of bureaucracy, freeing them up to be humans. Businesses are inherently social organisms, right? Business itself is inherently social. It's all about relationships. If you're able to give people the freedom and the creativity and the space to interact with other people, surely you're going to see a benefit from that. But we've just got to alleviate the challenges that come from reaction to the 2007 financial crisis and the other aspects of that. The right AI doesn't replace human judgment, and there's a lot of fear-mongering going on around AI. It shouldn't be there, or shouldn't be perceived to be there to eliminate humans in the workplace. It's there to eliminate human drudgery. It standardizes workflows automatically. It can handle repetitive tasks invisibly. It learns employee patterns and preferences. It can make bureaucracy disappear whilst keeping the business running smoothly. It doesn't need to be a big climactic event that results in a 2-year onboarding process, as we've seen in the past with technology. And technology, again, particularly for SMEs, has always been a dichotomy of, or a paradox of sort of saving time whilst also taking up a huge amount of time to implement. And I think there are still some concerns about that with regards to AI, but I don't think it should need to be quite so stark as it has been in the past. What used to take an hour of admin could now happen in the background whilst employees are able to spend more time talking to each other, brainstorming, creating ideas. Nothing would fill me with more joy than a business with an office where people come to the office, but there are no computers. And this is why we built TAISK. So TAISK is a specialist large language model. I think it's the first large language model built in Scotland, and it's just very good at doing admin. If there's something, we can talk a little bit about the technicals, but it's something fundamentally different from a Copilot or a ChatGPT or even some of the other sort of more like wrapper products. TAISK gives every employee a proactive AI assistant that knows their tools, their tones, and then can complete their tasks. It sits invisibly in a business. It handles admin that slows everyone down. It automates compliance, managing workflows, can build reports, update systems, anticipate problems, all whilst your people focus on what humans do best, being human. I promised practical. I'll do a demonstration now of TAISK. We'll just log in, and hopefully this will work. I'm just going to connect. If for any reason you can't hear TAISK, please can someone write in the comments, and we'll come up with a strategy. Hello, TAISK.
Hi there. How can I help you today? Is there something specific you'd like to talk about or need help with?
Yeah, TAISK. So I'm currently doing a presentation on AI and admin. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. AI can really enhance admin tasks by automating repetitive processes, improving accuracy, and freeing up time for more strategic work. It's often used for scheduling, email sorting, and document management, making those tasks.
Okay. That's great. We don't have a lot of time. What I would like you to do is to do some work that would usually take me a bit of time. So I've got an event next Friday that I need to plan. It's in Edinburgh. Please, could you do the following? Could you find a venue for 50 people and send me a list of some options? Could you put a meeting note in my calendar for the event once it's been booked? Could you create a spreadsheet to invite customers? And finally, once we've agreed which customers we want to invite, would you be able to send them all a personalized email?
I found some venue options for 50 people in Edinburgh, and I'm also getting the calendar note, the customer invitation sheet, and personalized emails lined up for you. Once we finalize the details, we can proceed with the invites. Let me know if you'd like me to narrow down any venue choices or if you have specific preferences.
No, just send me an email with what you've currently got. Thanks, TAISK.
I'll send you an email with the current venue auctions and a summary of the tasks in progress. Let me know if you need any adjustments or more details.
Okay. Hopefully you all heard that. We'll go back to the demo. So that is a sort of task that would typically take half a day, if not longer, to do. Just as a reminder, we had a bit of a conversation first about AI and admin. That's the beauty of having a model which you've built yourself, is you don't need to be an expert in prompting. You can just have a chat and then it can determine from that what it needs to do. But in that example, I asked it to find me a venue. I asked it to create a spreadsheet. I asked it to come up with some ideas on personalizing invites, and to put some stuff in my calendar. None of this is rocket science from like a admin perspective. It just takes up time. And if you consider that across your organization, you're going to have tens, hundreds, thousands of employees with daily admin tasks, not dissimilar to this, you can see quickly how much time it could save. And that's what makes TAISK different. It's because of our specialist model that there's no need to become an expert prompter to understand how to utilize different large language models. It doesn't ask your employees to change how they work. Instead, it learns from them. It adapts to them and it frees them up to focus on stuff that really makes a difference. However, technology skeptical or expert that they are, the admin just gets done. But at the moment, TAISK seamlessly integrates with Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 tools, so it can carry out any task across email or Drive. Each one of these applications has tens of thousands of different potential use cases. The job of TAISK, or the model we've developed, is to determine from a user conversation, a chat, how to then carry out things. You can do one-off jobs or schedule automations. We've really thought about the user experience and the admin burden of businesses, and this is just a start as we add more tools and more capability. So to come full circle, so we have a bit of time for Q&A because I see some hands go up. The question isn't whether AI can fix UK's productivity crisis. There's a lot going on that's affecting UK productivity at a macro level. The question is, can AI help businesses on a micro level, the individual SMEs, the shops, the farms, the schools? The question is whether we're ready to let go of our addiction to administrative comfort zones and try something new. TAISK is supported by some very well-known partners. If you look at the website, you can see, but it's ready to deploy today. The technology works, and any business can onboard all of their people for just £469 a month. And most importantly, it gives people back the time and the energy to do their best work. With TAISK, you don't need to be answering emails at 9 o'clock at night or panicking at 4 o'clock in the morning about a seminar that you haven't written any slides for. You can get help so that you can hopefully focus on the things that make a difference. Productivity isn't about working harder. And I can't emphasize enough, people in businesses are not lazy. They are busy. It's not productivity isn't about working hard. It's about making admin disappear so humans can focus on what really matters. Today, we've shown you, or hopefully, so I've gone over, from my perspective, the problem. We are just one of the solutions that's available. We do things a little bit differently. The only question left is, are you ready to set your people free from the admin trap? Thank you all very much for your attention. I'm I'm happy to take any questions that you've got in the last 25 minutes. And if you want to follow our journey as we build Scotland's next unicorn, you can scan this QR code and connect and follow me online and ask me any questions up there. But I'm now going to see if there's any questions in the chat. And if I can work out how to do it. Does anyone have any, Jenny Littlewood, I'm going to make sure that you can talk. Controls. Great. Hi, Jenny. You can now unmute, and if you'd like to ask a question, I'll do my best to answer it. There we go. Any other questions? There's one question in the chat from Drew. Did the UK SME productivity chart have any comparisons? Is there a global trend that's affecting the UK? I mean, the UK is falling well short from. I mean, you can, if you just Google it, you can see that our productivity as a country is dramatically lower than even countries like France, where their GDP to debt is even greater. So there's some interesting things happening in the UK at what I consider to be a micro level as well as a macro level. That's causing this affinity with admin that we really need to break. A couple of minutes left. Does anyone have any questions? Please just unmute and shout them out. Great. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you all very much for joining. And if you'd like to follow along on our journey at TAISK, or if you've got any interest in reaching out to me, please do so. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.